Let's look at editing your own invoice. So click on the invoice option when you open up Erase, and you'll see that whenever you open up the invoice that I've included a template that you can modify. Now this is my invoice. You are free to change anything. Of course, you're expected to change your your name, logo, and all that stuff. So I want to show you in this video how to do all that. So what you'll do is you'll click on the design button. This brings up the report designer. There's another video that covers the report designer. And this one we're going to dig a little deeper here and look at the parameters of the report. That's where the default values on how much you charge and what your mileage rate is and all that stuff. Now, this here is the kind of the default string that I threw in. This looks kind of hairy. Basically, keep in mind that everything in the parentheses is the actual string literals. So, I mean, like if you change anything inside here, it's just whatever it is. So, thank you for test. I put that in there, and that's just part of it. And so you can change all this stuff. Now, this gets a little hairy. You can maybe separate things. But what this is you got a string literal here, which you can change to be anything you want. This and sign concatenates this plus whatever value you have here. So I'm going to say company name. Of course, if you want to take all that out between these uh, quotation marks here, let's just do, and that way that parameter is gone. Now it's just simply one big long string literal. So from here down to here. And you'll see as long as you got an open quote and a close quote, you know all that's good. And so we'll put all that back. And so this says, thank you for your confidence in AD race timing to provide timing services for and then this is, of course, race name. So what I've done is I've put quite a few parameters in here that you can plug in anywhere you want, and I'll show you where those parameters are at and how they're populated. But here you see a bunch of stuff. So this is, when you print it off, creates what I always provide to my race directors. And so I would recommend, of course, viewing the default, maybe even print it off and then try to see, you know what, I don't like this whole paragraph you put in, and then see, okay, where's that paragraph start? Let's say it starts, um, let's say you don't like this whole sentence here. Well, then just take it out. So just keep in mind, like I said, you got to have open and close quotes. And so I can guide you through some of this, but that's how to change the text that's in the middle here. Really, the meat of it is changing the parameter values. That's the main thing I'll show in this video. So what you'll do is you'll go to parameters. So let's say that your base price, for example, I've got a base price $450. So that's the default value. Maybe your base price is $350. So here's where you'll change your base price. Now, the base price is defined simply as, when we time a race, if the race has 225 people or less, it's a base fee of $450. Now, you're probably like me, if I show up at a race and they had 30 people sign up, sometimes people just don't give any people at the race. And so, I may say, hey, how about you just simply charge me for gas, whatever. And so, those are some exceptions, but for the most part, most races are going to pay the base fee. And of course, with races, by the way, before race day, we always encourage the races to get business sponsorships to cover their expenses, timing included, so that all the money they raise through the participants actually goes to the cause. So hopefully you won't find yourself in a position where the race is struggling to pay the bills. So here's where you set up your base fee. And then the rest of those parameters are, again, parameters you can change. Let's say, what is your base participant max? So here, like I said, 225 is our base participant max. So if the race has 225 or less, 450. If they have above 225, it's going to be the cost per participant. And so that's where you see this here, the cost per registered participant. So that's $2 for us. All right. So the next value here. So some of these are set, by the way. The program sets them for you. So here is the number of participants. Well, the software, whenever you open up a race and say, give me an invoice, it'll check and see, well, what other races are going on this same day, and it will ask you, well, what all races do you want to include on this invoice, from this day? And, for example, in this case, we're going to look at the Sylamore 25K and 50K race. And so at this race, there was, 600 people or so. And so it will throw in 600 automatically. So it'll automatically throw in the variables. So really there's a handful that you need to change. Invoice number, I think that is defaulted to like the year dash and then like a race ID. Now, if you had your own invoice number, you may just want to get rid of that field, maybe even get rid of this whole thing. Again, we're in the report designer, which in the previous video, or in the report designer video, I showed you can make any changes you want. And so if you just don't want to have an invoice number, or if you wanted to put your own kind of structure in there, you can do that. But it's going to default to year dash race ID. So of course, your very first race ever is going to be, in this case, 2018-1. And then your next race, let's say it's 6 months later, 2018-2. And then of course the next year will be 2019-3, and so on. It just keeps going. And so, um, all right, so that's invoice number. Company name, that's something that will be populated from the software. Whatever you put in the company name in the settings screen of the program automatically is pushed over here, but you can take that out if you wanted to and put whatever company name you want. And I think that company name, you'll see it listed like right here, and a few other spots. So, and then here, these are simply string literals. So you'll put your own phone number in, own address in, just type over it, get rid of whatever I got in there. And so let's see. So this is the race director's name that comes in from when you set the race up in the software. Of course, this is the race address that you put in from the software. I've already told you about the invoice number, how that's populated. The race date comes again from the software automatically. Race name from the software automatically. This is a string literal here. Just, again, change this to be whatever you want or take it out. This is, again, company name. Put yours in there. Logo, I showed in the report designer video how to put your own logo in, but I'll go ahead and give a quick preview here. So what you're going to do is go to the embedded images right here, and you can get rid of my logo if you want, add your own. And once you add your image in, it may be called something. It will probably be called something else. So what you'll do is, in fact, let's just change this. Let's remove this one, and let's add. I've got another guy's logo here. Let's add his logo on. So if I go to my desktop and Jeff's logo, and so now if I go to this image control, let me push it back over here. Looks like it moves. And now I can say this value is going to be Jeff's logo. So that's how you put your own logo in. Now, of course, once it's here, you can make it however big or small you want. And then change your logo. This is just simply a panel author up there with different colors, make it look a little fancier. Again, you're free to change all that stuff. And so all this stuff down here, this is where the meat of it is. This is where it shows, how much your fee was with travel costs, any non-traditional fees. Maybe you had to ship them something, so there's shipping costs in here. I've got it to where this body of text changes based on, if there's non-traditionals or others, whatever you put in, it'll say, it shows the description of all these charges down here. And then of course, here's your invoice total. But again, all those numbers are based on information that the report gets from the software, but also some of the default values you set here. So, for example, the other fee, we have an other fee. Actually, that one's the non-traditional is what I was going to say next. That's the 250, non-traditional fee. And so we, for example, if we're timing anything over a 10K, well, that means we're going to be there half a day or all day or whatever. So we may charge an extra $250 for a non-traditional fee. Now, we actually can throw on multiple non-traditional fees if this is like, an all-day event, plus they want, maybe a chip start. Maybe we charge $250 for a chip start instead of just a regular start. Again, all these are we never throw on as many as we can. We, in fact, try to throw in as few as we can to where they're just reasonable, non-traditional extra charges. And so in this report, you'll see that you can simply change the number or how many non-traditional fees you want. Within the software takes over and says, okay, well, that's, two non-traditionals is obviously 2 times 250, 500. So this is the non-traditional fee that you can set up. The software populates this, and you have on the invoice screen, you'll see a notes field where it populates this. That total is automatically calculated. This other fee is also coming in from the invoice screen, which we'll look at, so you don't have to set a default that value there. The miles, that's automatically pulled in also from the invoice screen in a second we'll look at. This is your price per mile right here. So this is where we charge 75 cents a mile, but we only charge like a one-way direction. So if it's 100 miles from our hometown to your race, it's $75. We don't charge, I don't know why we said it that way. We just did. So that's how we do it. You can change this to be, maybe you do a simple, 40 cents per mile or whatever it is. And so you could do a flat 40 and then put total mileage as, 200 miles since it was 100 there, 100 back. So however you want to handle that. All right, so the default values you're going to probably modify are going to be the non-traditional fee, price per mile, cost per registered participant. This is where I had the $2. The base price participant max. which is where I had 225. So anything above 225 is going to, that's the maximum to get the base fee, basically, 225. Anything over that is going to get $2 per registered participant. This is where I set up that 450 base fee, and the rest of these fields are automatically pulled in. So again, it's going to be base price participant max, cost per registered participant, price per mile or kilometer, and the non-traditional fee. So once you have those set up, let me go ahead and close that out. I could have saved it. I didn't. Yeah, if I'd have saved it, it would have showed his logo here and everything. But now, once you have that set up, when you pull up this report, let me do this again because I pulled both races in. I'm going to say create an invoice, and I want to include both races. Now, if you're doing like the reason I popped this up is because if you're doing like a kids fun run or whatever, maybe you put it in here, maybe you manually time it, who knows? You may not want to charge for that. So you simply select which races you want to include in the invoice, and then the software takes over and it says, okay, well, this race had, okay, so it looks like it's 479 registered participant this year. And so it's 479, and you see it automatically calculates everything for you. Now, I do have one non-traditional because of duration, and I'm going to say it was duration. Um, maybe let's say we mailed him bibs for $22 or 20. Yeah, let's say 21.48, and I'm gonna say uh, mailed, and I'm gonna say refresh report, and you'll see that all that stuff I just put in is down here. Now I didn't put in my mileage. Let's say it's 80 miles to his race. Now you'll see that when I tab out, these totals here automatically change, and so let's see if there's anything else I want to change. I can put his address in. I can change, the race name or whatever I wanted to. Here's the invoice number. So if I wanted to put in my own value, I can. And so let's see here. I said this was year dash race ID. I'm trying to remember that's right. So it's actually year, the race date, I believe, dash race ID. So that's kind of the invoice numbering, the default schema there. And so, yeah, once you get all the stuff like you want it, you hit refresh, and that populates all your stuff. And then what's nice here is you can simply say, now I don't have my email, I don't have my email address in the software, but if I did, there'd be an email to race director button right here. You simply click on that, and it emails them this invoice. Like super simple. You're all done. This is something you can do before you leave the race. And so that's how editing an invoice works.